The ship was silent as it moved through the dark space between stars. Ambassador stood near the window of her quarters, watching the distant lights of 1,000 suns. She was 42 years old, a diplomat who had spent her entire life learning to speak with patience and wisdom. Earth had chosen her for this mission because she believed in peace more than anyone else. Today, she would meet the Galactic Council for the first time. Humanity had only discovered faster-than-light travel 15 years ago. In that short time, they had learned that the universe was filled with life. Hundreds of alien species had built an empire that stretched across millions of worlds. The Galactic Council ruled them all. Looked at the small photograph she kept in her pocket. It showed her daughter, who was only 12 years old. She had promised that she would return home safely. She had promised to bring back stories of wonderful alien worlds and strange new friends. The ship slowed as it approached the council station. It was a massive structure, larger than any moon, floating in the center of a beautiful nebula. Lights covered its surface like a city that never ended. Took a deep breath and prepared herself. Her assistant, a young man named Park, walked into the room. He was nervous. She could see it in his eyes. "Ambassador, we are being escorted to the main chamber," he said quietly. Nodded and followed him. Their small team of 5 humans walked through long hallways filled with aliens of every shape and size. Some had scales. Some had feathers. Some floated in the air without legs. All of them stopped to stare at the humans as they passed. Kept her head high. She smiled at everyone she saw. She wanted them to know that humans came in peace. The main chamber was enormous. It could hold 1,000,000 beings, and today it was full. Representatives from every species in the galaxy had come to see the newcomers. At the center of the chamber, on a raised platform, sat the 5 overlords who ruled the council. The overlord sat in the middle. He was tall and thin, with skin like gray stone and eyes that glowed red. His species had ruled the council for 10,000 years. They believed they were superior to all other life. Stepped forward and bowed respectfully. "Great overlords," she said, her voice calm and clear. "I am Ambassador of Earth. I bring greetings from all of humanity. We come to you with open hands and open hearts. We seek friendship, trade, and peace. We wish to learn from your wisdom and share what little knowledge we have." She paused and looked around the chamber. 1,000,000 eyes watched her. "Humans are young in this universe," she continued. "We have made many mistakes in our history. We have fought wars among ourselves. We have hurt our own planet, but we have also learned. We have grown. We believe that together, all species can build a future better than any could build alone." She finished her speech and waited. The chamber was completely silent. The overlord stood slowly. He looked down with his red eyes. There was no warmth in his gaze. There was no curiosity. There was only cold judgment. "Human," he said, his voice echoing through the chamber. "Your species is primitive. Your technology is weak. Your world is small and unimportant. You have nothing to offer us." Felt her heart beat faster, but she kept her face calm. "With respect, Overlord, we believe every species has value. We hope to prove ourselves worthy of friendship." The Overlord made a sound that might have been laughter. "Friendship, the do not need friends. We have subjects. We have slaves. We have species that serve us or die." He leaned forward. "Your people have been exploring space without permission. You have entered systems that belong to the Council. This is a crime." His eyes widened. "We did not know. We meant no offense. We will respect your borders." "It is too late for respect," the Overlord said. "The Council has already decided your fate. Humanity will become a servant species. Your world will provide workers for our mines. Your people will serve us for the next 1,000 years." Stepped forward angrily, but raised her hand to stop him. "Overlord, please, let us discuss this. Surely there is another way." The Overlord smiled. It was a terrible smile. "There is no discussion. There is only obedience." He raised his hand. And to ensure your people understand their place, we will send them a message." Guards rushed forward and grabbed, tried to fight, but he was struck down. The other humans were quickly captured. Did not struggle. She looked directly at the Overlord with steady eyes. "If you do this," she said quietly, "you will regret it. Humans do not forget." The Overlord laughed. "What can your weak species do? You have no fleet, you have no weapons, you are nothing." He gave the order. Had one moment to activate her emergency transmitter. She pressed the button hidden in her sleeve and spoke one word into the microphone. "Remember." Then the chamber filled with light. An ambassador was gone. The execution was broadcast across the galaxy. Every species watched as the humans died. The council wanted everyone to see what happened to those who did not obey. But across the stars, on a small blue planet called Earth, the message had been received. In a dark room deep underground, Admiral Wu watched the recording. He saw stand with dignity. He heard her final word. "Remember." He closed his eyes for a long moment. When he opened them again, they were filled with something cold and terrible. He picked up his communicator and spoke 4 words that would change the galaxy forever. "Activate Extermination Protocol Alpha." Far away, on the council station, the Overlord celebrated his victory. He did not know that he had just made the worst mistake in the history of his species. He did not know that the small, weak humans had been preparing for this moment for 15 years. He did not know that humanity never forgot. And humanity never forgave. Admiral Wu sat alone in the dark room for 3 hours after sending his message. He did not move. He did not speak. He simply stared at the frozen image on the screen before him. She had been his friend for 20 years. They had trained together. They had dreamed together of a future where humanity would stand among the stars as equals. Now she was gone. When he finally stood, his body felt heavy. He was 60 years old, and he had seen many terrible things in his life, but nothing had prepared him for this. Nothing had prepared him for watching his friend die while a million aliens laughed. He walked out of the room and into a long hallway. Soldiers stood at attention as he passed. They had all seen the broadcast. They all knew what had happened, and they all knew what was coming next. Extermination Protocol Alpha was not something humanity had created lightly. 15 years ago, when the first human ship discovered alien life, the leaders of Earth had celebrated. They had dreamed of friendship and cooperation, but they were not fools. They knew that the universe could be dangerous. So while diplomats trained to make peace, others prepared for war. Admiral reached the command center. It was a massive room filled with screens and computers and hundreds of officers working at their stations. When he entered, everyone stopped and turned to look at him. General Ho was waiting for him. He was a tall man with gray hair and a scar across his face. He had fought in wars on Earth before humanity reached the stars. He understood violence in ways that most people could not. "The protocol is active," said quietly. "All stations have confirmed. We are ready." Nodded slowly. "Show me." Pressed a button, and a map appeared on the main screen. It showed the solar system, but it was not the solar system that most people knew. Hidden throughout the system were markers, hundreds of them, showing locations that had been kept secret from everyone except the highest military leaders. "Moon Base Alpha through Omega," said, pointing to markers around Earth's moon. 3,000 warships, fully armed, fully crewed, ready to launch. He moved his hand across the screen. "Mars shipyards. Another 2,000 ships in final construction. They can be ready in 72 hours. More markers appeared. Asteroid belt installations, weapon factories, fuel stations, training facilities, looked at with hard eyes. "We have been building this for 15 years, Admiral. Every nation on Earth contributed. Every resource we could spare went into this project." Stared at the screen. "They thought we were weak. They thought we were stupid," replied. They watched our diplomatic ships and laughed at our small exploration fleet. They never looked deeper. They never wondered why a species that had just discovered faster-than-light travel was not rushing to explore everything. Because we were preparing. Because we knew that the universe does not reward the naive. Turned away from the screen, his mind was filled with memories of. She had always believed that peace was possible. She had always hoped that aliens would welcome humanity as friends, and she had been wrong. But she had also known the truth. Before she left Earth, she had come to see one last time. "If something happens to me," she had said, "promise me that you will protect our people. Promise me that you will do whatever is necessary." He had promised. Now he would keep that promise. A young officer approached them. Her name was, and she was one of the best pilots in the fleet. She was only 30 years old, but she had already proven herself in dozens of training exercises. Now she would prove herself in real combat. "Admiral," she said, saluting, "the first wave is assembled and waiting for orders." Looked at her. "Commander, do you understand what we are about to do?" His face was calm. "Yes, sir, we are going to war." "No," shook his head. "War is what happens between equals. What we are about to do is punishment. We are going to teach the galaxy a lesson that they will never forget." He walked to the center of the room and looked around at all the officers watching him. These were the men and women who would lead humanity's response. They were soldiers and scientists and pilots and engineers. They were mothers and fathers and sons and daughters, and they were all ready to fight. 15 years ago," said, his voice carrying through the room, "we sent our first ship beyond our solar system. We discovered that we were not alone. We discovered that the universe was filled with species who had lived among the stars for thousands of years." He paused. "We hoped for peace. We prepared for war. Today our hope died with Ambassador. Today we learned that the galaxy sees humanity as nothing more than slaves to be used and discarded." His voice grew harder. "They were wrong." He raised his hand and pointed at the screen. "Humanity is not weak. We are patient. We watched and learned and built in secret while they laughed at us. Now they will see what happens when you harm one of our own." He lowered his hand. "They wanted to send us a message. They wanted to show us our place. Instead, they have awakened something they do not understand. They have awakened the fury of a species that survived ice ages and plagues and wars that killed millions. They have awakened a people who refuse to die no matter what the universe threw at them." He turned to, "Commander, you will lead the first wave. Your target is the forward fleet stationed in the system. You will destroy every ship. You will leave no survivors. You will show them that mercy died with our ambassador." Saluted, "Yes, sir." Looked at, "General, you will lead the second wave. Your target is the. You will burn it until nothing remains." Nodded grimly, "With pleasure." Turned back to the room. "Today we are no longer diplomats. Today we are no longer explorers hopping to make friends. Today we are the nightmare that the galaxy created when they killed." He took a deep breath. "Launch the fleet." Alarms began to sound throughout the bases hidden across the solar system. Engines roared to life. 3,000 warships rose from their hiding places and gathered in formation above the dark side of the moon. On Earth, people looked up at the sky and saw lights moving among the stars. They did not know what was happening, but they felt something change. They felt the moment when humanity stopped being prey and became predator. Admiral watched the fleet on his screen. Each ship carried weapons that humanity had never shown anyone. Each ship carried soldiers who had trained their entire lives for this moment. They had killed 5 humans and thought they had won. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Commander stood on the bridge of the warship Iron Dawn. Around her, 3,000 ships moved through space like a school of deadly fish. They were painted black, designed to absorb light and disappear against the darkness between stars. The galaxy had never seen them. The galaxy had no idea they existed. Until now. Looked at the navigation screen. The system was 6 hours away at maximum speed. Intelligence reports said that 200 warships were stationed there, guarding a major trade route. The thought they were safe. They thought they were the most powerful force in this part of space. They were wrong. Commander, said her first officer, a serious man named Sung. All ships report ready. Weapons charged, shields at full power. Nodded. She thought about her mother, who lived in a small town near Seoul. She thought about her younger brother, who was studying to be a doctor. She thought about all the people on Earth who were counting on her to protect them. She thought about Ambassador, standing with dignity before her killers. All ships, said into her communicator. This is Commander. In 6 hours we will enter the system. In 6 hours we will show what humanity is capable of. Remember why we fight. Remember who we fight for. Let nothing survive. 3,000 ships answered her with a single word. Understood. The hours passed slowly. Used the time to review battle plans and check systems. She spoke with her crew, looked into their eyes and saw no fear. She saw anger. She saw determination. She saw the same cold fury that burned in her own heart. When they finally dropped out of faster-than-light travel, the system spread before them. It was a beautiful place, with a yellow sun and 7 planets. Millions of alien traders passed through here every day. It was a symbol of the Council's power and wealth. And at its center, the fleet waited. Studied them on her screen. 212 ships, mostly cruisers and destroyers. They were impressive by galactic standards. They had weapons that could crack planets and shields that could stop asteroids. But they had never fought humans. They detected the human fleet almost immediately, watched as their ships began to move into defensive formation. She imagined their commanders laughing, thinking that the primitive humans had come to die. A communication request appeared on her screen. The wanted to talk. Accepted the call. An officer appeared, his gray face twisted with amusement. Human ship, he said, you have made a terrible mistake coming here. Surrender now and we will make your deaths quick. Smiled, it was not a friendly smile. You killed our ambassador, she said quietly. You thought we would accept it. You thought we would bow down and become your slaves. She leaned forward. You were wrong. The officer laughed. What can you do? Your ships are primitive, your weapons are toys. We will destroy you in minutes. Ended the communication without another word. She looked at Sung. Target their flagship, fire everything. The Iron Dawn shook as hundreds of weapons activated at once. Missiles streaked across space. Energy beams cut through the darkness. The flagship, a massive ship covered in golden decorations, never had a chance. It exploded in a ball of fire that lit up the entire system. For a moment there was silence. The fleet stopped moving. They could not believe what they had just seen. Their flagship destroyed in seconds by a species they considered inferior. Then all 3,000 human ships opened fire. The battle was not a fight, it was a massacre. Human weapons were not primitive. Human technology was not weak. For 15 years, Earth's greatest scientists had studied every piece of alien technology they could find. They had learned. They had improved. They had created weapons that the galaxy had never imagined. Shields meant nothing against human missiles that could phase through solid matter. Armor meant nothing against human energy beams that burned hotter than stars. Speed meant nothing against human ships that could turn faster than any computer could track. Watched as ship after ship exploded around her. They tried to fight back, but their weapons could barely scratch human shields. They tried to run, but human ships were faster. They tried to surrender, but had her orders. No survivors. In 45 minutes, it was over. 212 warships had become floating debris. Not a single human ship was seriously damaged. stood on her bridge and looked at the destruction she had caused. She felt no joy. She felt no satisfaction. She felt only emptiness and the cold knowledge that this was just the beginning. "Commander," Sung said quietly, "we are receiving communications from alien ships throughout the system, traders, civilians. They are asking what is happening." Thought for a moment. "Open a channel to all ships in the system and record this message for broadcast across the galaxy." She waited until the communication officers confirmed they were ready. Then she spoke. "This is Commander of the Human Defense Force. What you have witnessed today is justice. The Galactic Council executed our ambassador without trial. They planned to enslave our entire species. They thought we were weak." She paused. "We are not weak. We are humanity. We do not forgive. We do not forget. And we do not show mercy to those who would harm us." She looked directly into the camera. "To thee and all who supported them, what happened here today is only the beginning. You're our next. Your stations are next. Everything you have built will burn unless you release any humans you have captured and publicly apologize for your crimes." She smiled that cold smile again. "You have 1 week. We suggest you use it wisely." She ended the transmission. Throughout the galaxy, billions of aliens watched the recording in shock. They saw the destroyed fleet. They heard the human commander's words. And for the first time, they felt something they had never felt when thinking about humanity. They felt fear. On the council station, the Overlord watched the recording 17 times. His red eyes burned with fury, but deep inside, something else was growing. Something he had not felt in 1,000 years. Doubt. He had seen the battle data. He had seen how easily the humans destroyed his fleet. He had assumed they were bluffing about their technology. He had assumed they were exaggerating their strength. He had been wrong. And now he had to decide: apologize to the species he had humiliated, or face a war that he might not win. Far Away ordered her fleet to regroup. General Ho's second wave was already on its way. The waited. Humanity's vengeance had only just begun. It was called Velar Prime. It was a beautiful planet with purple oceans and silver forests. For 10,000 years, it had been the center of the most powerful empire in the galaxy. Billions of lived there in great cities made of crystal and stone. They had never known fear. They had never known defeat. General Ho intended to teach them both. His fleet appeared at the edge of the system like shadows emerging from darkness. 5,000 ships, even more powerful than the ones had commanded. These were the heavy warships, the planet breakers, the weapons that humanity had hoped never to use. Stood on the bridge of his flagship, the burning sky. He was not a man who enjoyed war. He had seen too much death in his long life to take pleasure in it. But he understood something that many people did not. Sometimes, the only way to prevent greater violence was to demonstrate overwhelming force. They had killed 5 humans. If humanity did not respond with absolute fury, other species would see them as weak. More humans would die. Earth itself might be attacked. No, this had to end here. This had to end now. "General," said his communications officer, "they are hailing us. Their overlord wants to negotiate." Considered for a moment, "Put him through." The overlord appeared on the screen. He looked different from before. The arrogance was still there, but it was mixed with something else. Concern, perhaps, or fear. "Human General," the overlord said, "you have made your point. Your species is stronger than we believed. Let us discuss peace." Stared at him without expression. "Where was your desire for peace when you executed Ambassador? Where was your wish to discuss when you planned to enslave our entire species?" The overlord shifted uncomfortably. "That was a misunderstanding. We acted hastily. We are willing to apologize. We are willing to pay compensation." Compensation? His voice was cold as ice. "What price do you put on human lives? What amount of money makes up for watching our ambassador die while your people laughed? We can negotiate. No, cut him off. You had 1 week to apologize. You did not. Instead, you gathered your fleet and prepared for war. You still believe you can win. You still believe humanity will accept anything less than complete surrender. The Overlord's eyes flashed with anger. Do not threaten us, human. We have ruled this galaxy for 10,000 years. We have destroyed species far more powerful than yours. Nodded slowly. Yes, you have, and that is why you must be destroyed. He ended the communication. All ships, he said calmly, begin the assault. They had gathered everything they had to defend there. 3,000 warships formed a wall between fleet and the planet. Ground-based weapons pointed at the sky. Orbital stations powered their shields to maximum. It was the greatest defensive force the galaxy had ever seen. It was not enough. Human ships moved with a coordination that seemed impossible. They attacked from every direction at once, exploiting weaknesses that commanders did not even know existed. Human weapons tore through shields like paper. Human missiles found gaps in armor and exploded inside enemy ships. The battle lasted 3 hours. By the end, the fleet was gone, every ship destroyed, every station burning. The sky above Velar Prime was filled with wreckage that fell like burning rain. Looked at the planet below. Billions of waited there, watching the sky, knowing that their fate was about to be decided. He thought about what would have wanted. She had believed in mercy. She had believed that even enemies could become friends. She had died for that belief. But mercy had limits, and some lessons could only be taught through pain. Target all military installations on the planet, ordered. Military only. Avoid civilian areas if possible. His weapons officer looked surprised. Sir, I thought we were going to. We are not monsters, interrupted. We do not murder civilians. We do not kill those who cannot fight back. That is what makes us different from them. He paused. But we will destroy their ability to make war. Every base, every factory, every weapon on that planet will burn. They will never threaten anyone again. For the next 12 hours, human ships systematically destroyed every military target on Velar Prime. Missiles fell from the sky like rain. Energy beams cut through mountains where hidden bases waited. Factories that had built warships for 10,000 years became craters. Throughout the galaxy, other species watched in silence. They had expected humanity to destroy the planet completely. They had expected genocide. Instead, they saw something that confused them. The humans were not killing everyone. They were punishing the military. They were removing this power to hurt others, but they were not murdering innocent people. It was a display of both power and restraint, and somehow that was more terrifying than simple destruction. When it was over, opened a channel to the planet below. People of Velar Prime, he said, your military is gone, your weapons are gone, your empire is finished, but your lives have been spared. He let that sink in. This is humanity's mercy. We could have destroyed your entire planet. We could have killed every one of you. We chose not to. Remember that. Remember that we had the power to end you and we did not. He leaned forward. But know this. If you ever threaten humanity again, if you ever harm another human being, we will return. And next time there will be no mercy. Next time there will be nothing left. He ended the transmission. Across the galaxy, the message spread. Species that had laughed at humanity fell silent. Species that had planned to join the against Earth suddenly changed their minds. Species that had never cared about humans before began sending messages of friendship and respect. Fear was a powerful teacher. On the council station, the other overlords watched the destruction of military power. They saw how easily humanity had done it. They understood that their own worlds could be next. Within hours, they voted to remove the overlord from his position. Within days, they sent a formal apology to Earth. Within weeks, they agreed to every human demand. General Ho returned home a hero, but he did not feel like one. He had done what was necessary, but the memory of all that death would stay with him forever. He visited the memorial where his name was engraved in stone. He stood there for a long time, remembering her smile, her laugh, her endless hope for peace. "I kept my promise," he whispered. "I protected our people. I hope you understand why it had to be this way." There was no answer. There never would be. But somewhere in his heart hoped that would have forgiven him for what he had done. The war was over, but the galaxy would never be the same. 1 year had passed since the day Ambassador died. 1 year since humanity had shown the galaxy what happened to those who harmed them. 1 year since everything changed. Captain Jin walked through the halls of the Galactic Council station. She was young, only 28 years old, but she had already become one of the most respected officers in the human defense force. Today, she had been chosen for a special mission. The station looked different now. The golden decorations that had once covered every wall were gone. The arrogant symbols of power had been removed. In their place were simple designs that represented all species equally. Aliens moved aside as Jin passed. Some bowed their heads. Some avoided her eyes completely. They were not being rude. They were being careful. They had learned what happened when humans were disrespected. Jin did not enjoy the fear, but she understood its purpose. She reached the main chamber, the same room where had died. It was empty now except for a small group of humans and a few alien representatives. Admiral Wu stood at the center, his face tired but proud. Commander stood beside him, along with General Ho and several other officers. And there, at the front of the room, a small statue waited to be unveiled. Jin took her place among the other humans. She looked around at the chamber where her hero had stood so bravely before her killers. She felt sadness, but also pride. Had not died for nothing. Her sacrifice had changed everything. Admiral stepped forward and raised his hand. The room fell silent. 1 year ago, he said, his voice echoing through the chamber, Ambassador came to this place with hope in her heart. She believed that humanity and the other species of the galaxy could live together in peace. She believed that friendship was possible. He paused. They answered her hope with death. They executed her to send us a message. They wanted us to know our place. They wanted us to bow down and serve them forever. His eyes swept across the room. They made a mistake. He gestured and the cover fell from the statue. It showed standing tall, her hand raised in greeting, her face peaceful but strong. At the base of the statue, words were carved in every language known to the galaxy. "We came offering friendship. You chose war, remember that." Continued speaking. "Humanity did not want war. We still do not want war. We came to the stars looking for friends, for allies, for a chance to learn and grow together with other species. That dream did not die with Ambassador. It lives on in every human heart." He looked at the alien representatives. "But we have also learned a lesson. We have learned that the universe is not always kind. We have learned that some will try to hurt us, to enslave us, to destroy us simply because they think we are weak." His voice grew harder. "We are not weak, and anyone who tries to harm humanity will face the same fate as the. This is not a threat, it is a promise." He stepped back and nodded to Jin. Captain Jin walked forward with a flag in her hands. It was the flag of Earth, the blue and green symbol that represented all of humanity. She climbed the steps to the platform where the Overlord had once sat and planted the flag in the center. It was a symbol that everyone in the galaxy understood. Humanity had not conquered the Council. They had not demanded control, but they had claimed their place. They had earned respect through strength. Jin turned and faced the chamber. "I am Captain Jin," she said. "I speak for humanity today, but I am not an ambassador. We have not sent another ambassador to replace. Perhaps we never will. Perhaps the time for ambassadors has passed. She let those words sink in. What we offer the galaxy now is simple: equality or nothing. We will trade with those who treat us fairly. We will ally with those who respect us. We will share our technology, our culture, our friendship with any species that wants peace. Her eyes narrowed. But we will never again send someone like to beg for acceptance. We will never again allow ourselves to be judged by those who see us as lesser. If you want humanity's friendship, you must earn it. If you want humanity's respect, you must give respect first. She stepped down from the platform. The alien representatives exchanged nervous looks. This was not what they had expected. They had thought humanity would demand power, demand control, demand revenge. Instead, the humans were offering something more complicated. They were offering a choice. After the ceremony, Jin walked alone through the station. She found a quiet observation room with a window that looked out at the stars. She stood there for a long time, thinking about everything that had happened. A voice spoke behind her. "You did well today." She turned. Admiral had followed her. "Thank you, sir." Jin looked back at the stars. "Do you think it will work? Do you think the galaxy will accept peace?" Stood beside her. "Some will not. There will be species who resent us, who fear us, who want to destroy us. That will never change," he sighed. "But there will also be species who understand. Species who see that humanity is not their enemy. Species who want the same things we want: safety, prosperity, a future for their children." Jin nodded slowly. Ambassador believed that was possible. "Yes," his voice was soft. "She did, and I think she was right. Peace is possible. It just has to be built on a foundation of strength, not weakness. The galaxy will never again see humans as easy targets, and because of that, real friendship becomes possible." He put his hand on her shoulder. "The old ways are over. The days when powerful species could bully and enslave weaker ones are finished. Humanity has shown that even the smallest species can rise up and defeat the greatest empires. That message will spread. It will inspire others." He smiled sadly. Wanted to change the galaxy through kindness and diplomacy. In the end, she did change it, just not the way she expected. Jin looked at the stars. Somewhere out there, billions of species were watching humanity, some with fear, some with hope, some with hatred, some with respect. It did not matter what they felt. What mattered was what humanity did next. "What happens now?" she asked. Considered the question. "Now we go home, we build, we grow stronger, we prepare for whatever comes next." He looked at her. "And we never forget what we learned. We came to the stars hopping for friends. We found enemies instead. We defeated those enemies, but we did not become like them. We showed mercy when we could have shown destruction. That is what makes us human." Jin understood. Humanity had proven its strength. Now it had to prove its wisdom. She thought about one last time. The ambassador who had died believing in peace. The woman whose death had started a war that changed everything. "We will make her proud," Jin said quietly. "We will build the galaxy she dreamed of, not through weakness but through strength, not through fear but through respect." Nodded. "That is all any of us can do." They stood together in silence, watching the stars. Somewhere out there, a new galaxy was being born. A galaxy where humanity stood as equals among the stars. A galaxy where the strong protected the weak instead of destroying them. A galaxy where dream might finally become real. It would take time. It would take work. There would be challenges and setbacks and moments of doubt. But humanity had proven one thing beyond any doubt: they would never give up. They would never surrender, and they would never, ever forget. The stars waited, and humanity was ready.